listening to the conversation.
Hi. Thanks everyone for coming today. Obviously, one of the disadvantages of being near the end of the second day is that one loses some numbers and everything else, so thanks for coming along. But one of the big advantages is that we're able to distill down some of the things we've heard during the conference thus far, and see if we can go backwards on this thing. Sorry, Brent, I might need your technical support to flip backwards. It's way beyond me. Can you just flick it back to the start? Thanks.
Yeah, there's something going on.
So one of the advantages we've got is to kind of distill down some of the things that have happened through the event so far. And so today, we're going to be talking about employer brands and the social media. But I'd like to actually kind of make it as real as possible. There's been a lot of kind of talks and great presentations, but I felt some of it's been quite up there and everything else. So today I'd like to look at one or two real examples and maybe take away one or two really tangible things that we can all do tomorrow to start managing our brand.
For some reason it's sorry about that. It keeps moving around.
Okay, you can be mine. I'll nod to you to maybe it's me.
Bear with us, folks.
So I'm going to go backwards. Just go there and do it. Yeah, when you put it back to the Anyway, technology being what it is. So, but in order to kind of keep it as real as possible today and to maintain your interest, we have a game in England. Next slide, please, Brent. We have a game in England which we call, which when we go to a meeting, especially if we think there's going to be a lot of jargon and buzzwords around, we call it bullshit bingo. But RD insisted that for the purposes of today, we call it BS bingo. So there's lots and lots of words that we've heard all through this event. Generation Y, millennials, dialogue, flat world, naked conversations, the Clue Train manifesto. If you can kind of burn that onto your retinas and you get a line, a lotto line or a bingo line, whatever you call it over here, shout out and Brent will organise a prize for you or something. So we're going to try and keep it as real as possible as we go through. Now, I'm not going to ask you to define what Web 2.0 is because I've been in 3 presentations, that's already happened. But I want to make sure that we know what we're talking about. So when we're talking about social media, we define them as obviously blogs, social networks, which I'll define as MySpace and Facebook, that type of stuff. Business networks, which we would say is the Zings, the LinkedIns and so on. Microblogs, so Twitter, social bookmarking sites, StumbleUpon, Dig, and wikis and other kind of participatory user-gen media. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. Now, next slide please. I guess before we get into why we think social media is incredibly important for your employer brands, maybe we can have a look at some of the reasons why you might not want to get involved with the social media. Now, I'm sure you're sick of sticking your hands up all the time, but I'm going to ask you one more time. So if you can put your hands up when it comes to the reason that you'd prefer why your organisation shouldn't get involved in participate in social media. First up, no one reads blogs anyway. Anyone voting for that? Second one, I get enough applications anyway, thanks very much. The third one, Facebook is blocked to our employees. What on earth would be the point of building a recruitment campaign there? Fourthly, I don't want my recruitment ads appearing on blogs supported by neo-fascists or underage drinkers in Michigan or whatever. 5, I haven't got the budget all the time. Or 6, probably this is where lots of hands are normally in the air. All of the reasons above, plus another 100 there isn't space to list on this slide. Well, let's jump forward one. And I'm going to give you the reason why you need to get involved in the social media. And that is because you're already involved. Conversations are already happening out there. People are already talking about your brands. I guarantee if you're big enough and switching on enough to come to this conference, I guarantee there's people talking about your brands in spaces. There's conversations happening, you're just not a party to them. So, what we're going to have a look at today is some real examples. I know when you're doing your day-to-day jobs and everything else, you've got a lot of things to worry about, huge amounts of pressures and everything else. You don't have the time to go traipsing around Facebook and MySpace, which is, I guess, the reason I'm standing here. To spare the blushes of some US companies, we're actually going to look at a UK company. But I think it's really interesting to bear in mind that obviously the population of the UK is what, 60 million? The States, 240 million, something like that. And we're just looking at Sainsbury's, which is a supermarket brand like Walmart or whatever, and we're just looking at Facebook. So let's have a quick look at what's out there for those of you who haven't really got a feel for the kind of the scale and the kind of nature of these conversations that's happening. So first of all, we've run a little search for Sainsbury's. You're not going to be able to read much of this at the back, so we'll whiz through it, on Facebook groups. So we can see at the top of the page that there's more than 500 groups about Sainsbury's. And you probably can't read this, but this one says, I worked at Sainsbury's, but now I have a life. Now, that kind of gives you an idea of the flavour of some of the stuff that we're looking at. And if there is anyone from Sainsbury's, I suggest you look away now, because it's pretty unpleasant reading. So there's lots and lots of groups and everything else. Most of them are, frankly, of a very visceral, possibly litigious comments on staff members, managers, criticism of working practice, benefits, and everything else. Forward on, please. Keep going on. And again. So, we get on to Donna Blackman. Now, there's a point here about, it's incredible. I'm not Gen Y. That's one tick on the bingo board. Probably more than that already, actually. I'd probably say most of them without even recognising it. But so, Donna here is talking about her manager, Karen Salvage, what a bitch. And she's, naming this thing. She's giving a incredibly detailed and incredibly personal personal assassination of her manager. Blah, 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 going on, talking about how she had these kidney pains, didn't give her time off work or anything else. It's all out there, obviously, in the public domain. It takes about 5 seconds to find. Then we've got Michael Bowles, who's giving a blow-by-blow account of his case for unfair dismissal. All the details, everything else, and the fact that he appealed against it and Sainsbury's did nothing about it. And then on again. And then finally, just for these really quick examples, we've got Sharon Menany Kilsby. I'll read this one out for you. Boo-hoo, I'm a Sainsbury's widow. And what an unfamily organisation they are. Work-life balance, question mark, get with the times. And stop docking my husband for time off looking out for me. Not every day someone seems to have a brain tumour removed, have some sympathy, quadruple exclamation mark. Now, one please. You can say, quite rightly, that these conversations have always happened. People have always gone to the bar next to the office and slagged off their managers. People have always gone to the pub or whatever it might be and complained about their loss and everything else. So why, as employers, should you care about this stuff? Anyway, who's to say that these were good employees? I think we can probably assume that they weren't good employees. They're probably best out of the business anyway. And who's to say that, that woman, the Sainsbury's widow's husband even had a brain tumour? Well, there's a few reasons I think this stuff is incredibly important. Firstly, your target audience is listening. I don't know if you were in, any of you were in the Qualigence presentation before, and Steve was talking about the numbers over here. I think he quoted something like 56% of US active and passives are using this social media as part of their job search. And critically, they're using the social media to find the other voice of the organisation. Let's be honest, we've all evolved, we've all got great career sites, beautifully authored pages about our values and our benefits. They've all gone through internal comms, our PR department, our HR department. It's all incredibly anemic, incredibly corporate. People are looking for other voices, and they're looking in social media and through these other conversations to have the values of your organisation